everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm John and I regularly post ukulele tutorials here on YouTube at all different levels. Today we're going to be looking at a simple arrangement of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Ode to Joy is a beautiful piece and perfect for beginners because it uses just a few chords and has a very simple melody that most people are very familiar with. We'll be breaking the piece down into two parts, so the chords for the accompaniment and the melody for the solo part. This can be great fun if you get another ukulele playing friend to play the chords while you solo the melody or vice versa. But I'll add a play along at the end of the video in order for you to practice both parts with me. I really believe that learning the melody as well as the chords is an important step towards understanding a song's structure. So if you've not done much melody playing before, this is a great tutorial to get you started. Just before we dig into the lesson, if you do find the tutorial helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me with making more of these video tutorials moving forward. If you'd like a PDF of the tablature for the melody and the chord diagrams, buy me a coffee, see how to do so in the video description below, and I'll email one over to you. Alternatively, join me over at Patreon, where all my tutorials and accompanying PDFs can be found in one place. The link for this can also be found in the description below. Okay, let's first look at the harmony of the tune, the chord progression. For this we need just 4 chords. We're going to be playing the tune in the key of F major, which allows us to keep the melody and the chords within the first 3 frets of our ukulele. The first chord we're going to need is an F, or an F major, as per the diagram now shown. The second chord we need is a C, or a C major, now shown. Hopefully you're already familiar with both these chords, but if you're not, I'd suggest you watching my video on the first 3 chords for ukulele, linked in the card above, before continuing with this tutorial. For the majority of the tune we're just using these chords, but there are 2 more chords that appear just once in the sequence. These are A7, or for its full name A dominant 7. If you're not familiar with this chord yet, don't worry, as it's a simple 1-finger chord where we fret the C string, the 3rd string from the floor, at its 1st fret. Like the diagram here, I would probably fret it with my 1st or index finger, but please feel free to experiment with fretting it with a different finger if you prefer. As with all chords, make sure your finger is only fretting the string it's meant to and not accidentally touching any of the other strings. The other chord is the slightly harder D minor, now shown. In my opinion, the easiest way to play D minor is to initially fret an F or F major chord and then tuck our 3rd finger or ring finger underneath the 2nd or middle finger at the 2nd fret of the C string, the 3rd string from the floor, as per the diagram. Again, make sure your fingers are only fretting the strings that they should be and you're not accidentally touching any other strings. A good way of checking this is to hold the chord shape whilst playing each string individually. It should sound something like this if you're fretting the chord correctly. If the A7 and D minor chords are new to you, it would probably be good at this point to practice changing between these chords. The sequence you're going to need in context of the tune is C to A7, then A7 to D minor, and finally D minor back to C. So once again, C to A7 to D minor and back to C. For the rest of the tune we're literally just moving between the F and the C chord and back again. So now we have our 4 chords, let's look at the actual chord sequence for the tune. The section of the tune that we're going to be looking at, and the part that most people are very familiar with, is just 16 bars long. Here you can see the first 4 bars. So in bar 1 we have a full bar of F, in bar 2 a full bar of C, in bar 3 we go back to a full bar of F, and in bar 4 we have another bar of C. Now we could play a down strum on each beat of the bar here, so 4 down strums in every bar, like so. Or to make it easier still, we could just choose to play a single strum on each chord change. In the case of these 4 bars, it would just be a strum at the beginning of each bar. So if I do this, calling the chord changes and counting the strums we don't play, we would have F2, 3, 4, C2, 3, 4, F2, 3, 4, C2, 3, 4. In bars 5 to 8 you'll see that we have a very similar sequence, with the only exception being in bar 8, where we have a split bar with C taking the first 2 beats of the bar and an F taking beats 3 and 4 of the bar. So if I play this with a single strum for each chord, we would have F2, 3, 4, C2, 3, 4, F2, 3, 4, C and F. In bars 9 to 10, this is where things get a bit busier and we introduce the other 2 chords. So here we have a split bar of C and then an F in both bars 9 and 10, a split bar of C and then an A7 in bar 11, and a split bar of D minor and then C in bar 12. So if I play this with a single strum for each chord, we would have C and F and C and F, C, A7 and D minor, C. If we were strumming a down strum on every beat of these 4 bars, we would be playing 2 down strums on every chord. So C, F, C, F, C, A7, D minor, C. In the final 4 bars of this sequence, bars 13 through to 16, we have exactly the same chord sequence that we had in bars 5 to 8, with a full bar of F, then a full bar of C, then another full bar of F, and finally a split bar of C and F to finish. So F2, 3, 4, C2, 3, 4, F2, 3, 4, C and F. So that is the full 16-bar chord progression. I would encourage you to practice this playing with both a single strum on each chord change and also by playing a down strum on every beat. In the play along at the end of the video, I'll demonstrate both. So let's have a look at the melody now. What you're seeing at the bottom of the screen now is what is known as tablature, or tab, and this is a system designed to make playing melodies, and sometimes chords, easier for people that don't read music. Before I explain how all this works, please note that I've also put the chord names above every bar of the tablature for your reference. The 4 lines of the tablature actually represent the 4 strings of our ukulele. What sometimes can be a little bit confusing is that the top line of the tablature is actually the string that's nearest the floor when we're holding our ukulele, the A string. And the bottom line of the tablature is actually the string nearest our face when we're holding our ukulele, the G string. So just to reiterate, the bottom line of the tab is our G string, the string nearest our face. The second line is our C string, the 3rd string from the floor. The 3rd line is the E string, the 2nd string from the floor. And finally, the top line of the tab is our A string, the string that's physically nearest the floor when we're holding our ukulele. Okay, so hopefully we now know which lines of the tablature represent which strings of our ukulele. Now we just need to know what the numbers mean. The numbers represent the frets of our ukulele, and importantly, not which finger we use to fret the note, as per the chord diagrams. So looking at bar 1 in the diagram, you can see a sequence of 4 numbers on the top string of the tablature. So all of these individual notes are going to be played one at a time in sequence on our A string, the string nearest the floor whilst holding our ukulele. The first number is a 0, and this means that we play an open string, so we just pick the string without fretting any notes. You can use either your thumb or one of your fingers to pick the individual strings when playing melodies. Feel free to experiment with whatever works best for you. There's no hard and fast rule as to what you should use. The second number is also a 0, so we pick the same open A string again for a second time. The third number is a 1, so this time we fret the A string at the 1st fret and pick that string again. And the 4th and final number is a 3, so this time we fret the same string at the 3rd fret and pick again. As I said before, the numbers are just telling us which fret to put our finger in and not which finger to use. Working out which fingers work best for you is going to come with experimenting, practice and repetition. So the 4 notes we've just played in sequence, would sound something like this. In bar 2, we're effectively reversing the order of the last 3 notes in bar 1 by playing a note at the 3rd fret of the A string again, then a note at the 1st fret, then the open string, and finally for the last note in bar 2 we need to move to the E string, the 2nd string from the floor, and pick the note at the 3rd fret. So bar 2 and bars 1 and 2 together. And hopefully now you're starting to hear a very familiar melody. In bar 3 we stay on the E string and we pick the note at the 1st fret twice, and then the note at the 3rd fret once, and then we go back to the A string, the string nearest the floor, and we pick that string open once. Then in bar 4 we pick the open A string once again, and then we go back to the E string and we pick the note at the 3rd fret twice. It's worth noting here that the timing on these final 3 notes is slightly different to everything else we've played so far. Up until this point, as you can see by the vertical lines below each number, they have all been the same type of note, and these are what are known as quarter notes, or crotchets, depending on which side of the pond you're from, and are played on each beat of the bar. In bar 4, we see firstly what is called a dotted quarter note, a note that's held for a beat and a half beat longer than the normal quarter note, and then we see an 8th note, a note that lasts half the duration of a quarter note, and finally a half note, a note that lasts for twice the duration of the quarter note. So the rhythm of this bar would be... So if I just demonstrate bars 1 to 4, we would have... In bars 5 to 7, we have exactly the same melody that we had before in bars 1 to 3. So... But in bar 8, because the chords are going to change from C to F mid-bar, instead of staying on C for the whole bar, we play the note at the 3rd fret of the E string once, and then the note at the 1st fret of the same string twice. This also has the same rhythm that we came across in bar 4. So bars 1 through to 8 would be... In bars 9 to 12, the chord changes get a bit busier, with 2 chords sharing each bar, and hence the melody also gets a little busier too, in bars 10 and 11. In bar 9, we played the note at the 3rd fret of the E string twice, and then the open A string once, before moving back to the E string to play the note at the 1st fret. In bar 10, we play the note at the 3rd fret of the E string once, and then we play an open A string once, but this time as a quicker 8th note, and then we play the note at the 3rd fret of the A string once, which is also an 8th note, and then we play the open A string once again, but this time as a quarter note, and finally we're back to the E string where we play the note at the 1st fret. So with a quarter note, 8th, 8th, quarter, quarter timing. In bar 11 we have almost the same phrasing as bar 10, except the final note is at fret 3 of the A string, but rhythmically it's the same as bar 10, so... And then in bar 12 we're back to the standard on-beat quarter notes, and we play the note at the 1st fret of the E string, then the note at the 3rd fret of the same string, and then we move to the C string, the 3rd string from the floor for the first time, and play an open string, and finally we play an open A string. So bars 9 to 12 would be... For bars 13 to 16, I have some good news. These 4 bars are identical to bars 5 to 8, so we've covered the tab for this already. So if I just play through it, we would have... And now if I play the full 16-bar melody, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you have both the chord progression and the melody for Beethoven's Ode to Joy. In a moment I'll play through the whole sequence 5 times around in order for you to practice either the melody or the chord sequence. Take your time with it and don't worry if you make mistakes. If you do make a mistake, stop at that point and wait for a good time to join in with me again. This is generally going to be at the beginning of the next line or where the sequence starts from the top again. In the play along I will also vary my strumming with both the single strum per chord and also a down strum on every beat of the bar that we looked at the beginning of the tutorial. Be sure to hit the like button if you found this tutorial helpful, and don't forget to subscribe for more ukulele content. Let me know in the comments what songs you'd like to learn next. If you'd like a PDF copy of the tablature and the chord diagrams for Ode to Joy, buy me a coffee, see how to do so in the video description below, and I'll email one over to you. Alternatively, join me over at my Patreon page, where all my tutorials and accompanying PDFs can be found in one place. The link for this can also be found in the video description below. Thank you for watching and bye for now. 1, 2, 3, 4.